Hey everybody, this is Art Life Blog number 128, and I'm Jessie McGrath.
I'm Jacob Wolf. Thank you, Jessie, for having me here today.
Totally.
So, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm pretty young, so this is going to be easy. I was born in Upland, California, which is in Rancho Cucamonga, just about an hour east of LA. And my parents and I moved up here when I was 4, and then we stayed in San Francisco for a little bit, so there's a lot of art influence there, and then ended up here in Portland just because the environment for, like, you know, just being who you are and, like, being an individual and unique, obviously, and creative and weird was totally what we were going to go for, and so I've been here ever since.
And what year was that you moved here?
Oh, gee. I'm not sure. I just remember being 4 and then being here and then ever since.
Right on.
So, I mean, I was born in 95, if that.
Okay.
So that was probably like
So you're
98 or 9.
20?
Yeah.
Okay.
20.
My math skills are not completely out the window yet.
It's all good. It's all good.
So, when were you first interested in art?
Basically ever since I could remember. I mean, my mom draws, and that's kind of where I guess I get my creative side or whatever. She actually went to FITM for college for a bit.
Where's that?
It's down in LA. It's like the fashion college kind of place. A lot of like marketing and like, actually what she went to school for was window displaying. So she was really into like that kind of marketing and designing and creating that kind of stuff. She's done a couple like big projects like that where she's done like murals, or my dad used to have a Volkswagen bus, so she's painted the whole, you know, the whole thing, all crazy colors and stuff, and yeah. So I guess as far as like being introduced to art, it's definitely been like just a constant ever since I was born.
Right on. So, did you take art classes in school, high school?
Yeah, I actually didn't start taking, I remember doing art in elementary school, you know, just whatever you do in elementary school, I remember making like paper vests out of grocery bags, you know, so that kind of stuff, and I didn't actually take like a specific art class until middle school, so that's like 6th grade. And I actually only took Art 1-2 for all 3 years of middle school, and had a lot of support from my art teacher, and she's like one of my favorite art teachers ever. So I did take art in middle school, and then going into high school, my art teacher for middle school sent a letter with me to high school going, she needs to be in like advanced stuff. And because I had done 1-2 for 3 years already, and the next step was to do high school, but 1-2 again. So, but those art teachers were like, no, we really want everyone to start in 1-2 again, even if they've been doing it, you know, it's our 1-2 or whatever. And being a little rebellious, I decided I wasn't going to take art classes then, kind of as my own, like, well, then I'm not going to do it, you know? Which, not that I necessarily regret that. I kind of do, but got to get a lot of my, you know, the necessary classes out of the way, and so the rest of my high school years were just basically any elective I could take was just an art class. So I guess that was a good way to balance it out. But yeah, I've taken a bunch of art classes in high school. Realizing that, you know, public school is free, you kind of go, okay, so I have 3 extra classes, I'm totally going to take advantage of that. So right. I did. So in 10th grade, I was at Marshall High School. I was at Marshall High School 9th through 10th grade. Within Marshall, there were 3 academies, so there was like a business, a science, and then an art academy. So I was in Renaissance Arts Academy. And then I took, what was it? I took Art 1-2, even though I really didn't want to. And then I took darkroom photography too. So those
Right.
were my two main art classes in 10th grade. And then Marshall was closed down, and I went to Madison, which had, you know, much more of a broader selection of art classes. And I ended up taking darkroom photography again, which was mixed with digital. And then I also took AP 2D Studio, which is basically a college level class. And the whole point of that class is to eventually, at the end of the year, make a portfolio of 12 pieces. I think it's 12 or 13. And they all have to be themed, which going through school was like my flaw, basically, as far as being an artist, or like one of my weaknesses, because if you look at some of my stuff, my teacher wouldn't get mad or frustrated with me, but he would definitely be like, well, where was this artist from last week, you know, because they just look completely different. So I took that class. Struggled a little bit at the beginning with the whole theme idea, but by the end of it, you know, it was good. And then I took that class again my senior year and actually did the like test, you know. So you actually pay like $100 for people somewhere else in the world to tell you whether it's good or not, which is cool. But I didn't realize until literally about 2 weeks ago when I met with my art teacher again just to hang out, that I actually got the highest score on that one. So it was like 2 years of just like, I don't even know if that was worth anything. And then, yeah, like 2 weeks ago, he's just like, oh yeah, you totally passed. And I was like, awesome. It was like kind of just a random like, there you go, you know.
Little
so
ego boost.
yeah, I was just like, yeah, walking out. I was like, I did it. But yeah, so I took AP 2D Studio, and then I also took, oh gosh, I took a lot of classes. I can't remember if it was like commercial arts, but we basically did kind of like comic booky stuff, or also a lot of fine arts in that class. It was a lot of learning how to draw a body and the face and that kind of thing. But we also learned how to use watercolors, like some hardcore learning about watercolors, which is cool because ever since I was little, I hated watercolors. Just because, you know, you're little and you're
They're
like...
tough.
They are.
I still struggle.
It's not an easy thing to figure out. You know, when you're little, though, you're just like, I'm just going to pour all this water in here and it's going to look great, and it never does, and you can't figure out why. I mean, mostly you're using, like, copy sheet paper, too, you know, when you're little, so I never liked them, but after that class, I finally, like, honed in on it, and now it's, like, one of my favorite mediums to use.
Right on.
So, school's cool. You get to learn cool things. But, yeah, so took that class. I also took, I consider it kind of an art class, just because I got to be a lot more creative than probably what you would usually do. But I took journalism, and I was the layout supervisor and designed like a lot of the layout for things like that. So I used a lot of like InDesign and Photoshop and what's it called?
Those are good skills to learn.
Oh yeah, really cool. Yeah, really fun. Photoshop's fun, especially when you have friends who do stupid jokes and they're like, oh, you had a dream that, you know, I was Deadpool and you were Spider-Man and we were walking around Portland eating ice cream. I was like, done. Like, I will make that picture happen, you know? It takes like 10 minutes and it's like, it's there. A lot of bad jokes have been put through Photoshop at like 2 in the morning with me, and it's like one of my favorite things. Even though I don't get any, like, you know, you can't sell it or anything, but it's still really fun.
Did you enter competitions with your art throughout high school?
I did twice. I actually did the Scholastic Art Awards, and my first year I entered, I got a gold key, and that was cool. And then didn't enter until my senior year, I think, again, and I got a silver key, and then a bunch of honorable mentions, but I don't really like, I used to do a lot of art contests on DeviantArt. I don't know if, have you heard of DeviantArt?
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
but
so.
I never entered any of the competitions.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't feel like kind of feel like you waste a lot of time with like the online competitions, but it's still fun to just be challenged in any way, you know, as an artist, especially if it's something that you're not, like, that you don't know if you're capable of yet. So it's like, hey, draw a picture using only red colors or something like that, you know. And it's just like, okay, I've never like just done that, let's do it. So I mean, that's what I like about, I guess, competitions, but just entering them for whatever. I've been taught by my art teachers that it's just not a good idea, basically, you know, as far as your self-esteem.
Right.
So yeah.
So what do you consider your current art style?
Shoot. It's definitely mixed media. There is a lot going on. It's hard to explain because the people who inspire me, the artists that I look up to, I don't know what to call their art either. So, I mean, it's a lot of like collage-y, like doodles, or I do love comic book art. Like, that's definitely my go-to as far as like my favorite style is usually comic book art, but it's not like, you know, your 50s Marvel, you know, Captain America looking stuff. It's like Kabuki through Dark Horse, or it's Gotham Asylum, you know, just like the mixed media stuff. So I'm really into Dave McKean and David Mack and Neil Gaiman. Like, they're kind of not spooky necessarily, but like really dark kind of cubism, collage, doodly looking stuff. That's definitely what I like to look at, so of course I want to like recreate that in my own way. So if you catch that, it's kind of like a doodly, weird comic booky style, I guess. I don't really know what to call it. Definitely, even though they're not in panels necessarily, I consider them storyboards, which, I mean, you think of a storyboard and it's more like, you know, you have the cells and you got like one action here leading into the next action. But I think it's cool too that as an artist that shows in galleries, you're more likely to sell like the one piece, right? So that's also another challenge, is to like make a whole story or make what would be considered a storyboard in one picture. So that's another part of the style, I guess.
Do you have a couple things that we can show off?
Yeah, definitely. Since you looked at it, we've got this one, which is, I called it Insomnia, basically because I have insomnia, and this is literally like what it feels like to me. I actually made this in 3 days with very little sleep, so it was a good like experience for myself, and it's like my favorite piece, and I'm never gonna sell it. It's like the one piece I'm like, I will never get rid of this thing. Spent a lot of time with it, and just like, actually what this picture is, it's kind of a self-portrait. I did use my face for it. I woke up one morning and my alarm went off, and you just hate it, right? And so, just annoyed. But my computer screen was right next to my bed, so I was watching shows or whatever, and woke up to my reflection that actually looked like this. This is my pillow. It was like only half my face was showing. I was like, oh, that looks so cool. And I whipped out my phone. I was like, take a picture of my reflection. And then ended up using it for this. But, yeah.
Rad. I really like it. That was obviously why I looked at it. I was like,
Yeah, no. But this is definitely like what I consider like my style. I've done a bunch of different stuff, just because of like all the art classes I've taken, or all the styles and techniques I have, you know, experimented with. But like, as someone who's gone through all that and then finally started making art on their own without any kind of like teacher or, you know, friend kind of influence, I'm like, this is me.
Right.
I feel really comfortable making these pieces, even though I've only made like 2 or 3 of them that are like this. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite. But
do you show in Portland?
I do. My first art show was in this little cafe called Cafe 11, which is out on Rosa Parks Way. And that was through a friend of my mom's who was doing this art card show. So she got a bunch of different artists to make playing cards for each deck or whatever. And so, but they were showing that show at this little cafe, and then I met the owner, and she was excited. She's like, "Oh, you're one of the artists. Why don't you have a show here?" And I was like, "Yeah, why don't I?" So that's, and again, just with the, like, you know, what happened to that artist a week ago, you look at those pieces, and they are completely different from this stuff or anything that I'm showing now. So that was my senior year, so that was literally like only about 2.5 years ago that I got my first show. But that was a cool little show. Then I show a lot at the People's Art of Portland because I work there. So duh.
It's a really good opportunity.
It is. How I got there though was kind of random and kind of cool though. I was in high school, obviously, and my art teacher, I was basically like the art department's like assistant person or whatever, and my art teacher was kind of the head of the department, and so any art shows that were either in or outside of school, like, you know, he'd tell me the dates and times, and I would go help and set up or take down or do inventory or take pictures for inventory or anything like that. So I went and helped set up for, we used to do this show that was for like the high schools in Portland. So all the art teachers would take a couple of their kids' pieces and be like, you know, here, we're going to show you off. And so I was actually that was the second year I was a part of that show. The first year, it alternates, so like they'll pick different schools they'll pick half the schools to do more of like an installation piece, and then they'll pick the other half of the schools to, you know, just pick the pieces from their students. And that first year was hectic and crazy. It was when we did the installation one. And then the second year though, my senior year, we actually did the pieces in the art gallery one. And you know what, here, I'll show you what actually the piece is. Give me 1 second.
Entertaining.
So the piece that I turned in, or that my art teacher had me turn in for the gallery pieces, was this one. And it was
rad.
yeah, way different, way different. But totally comic booky and dusty and covered in spider webs. But this was the piece that I ended up turning in, and I was helping doing our takedown, and and Chris Haberman, one of the owners of People's, realized that I was the one who did it, and he was like, "Oh, hey, you want to intern?" And I was like, "Yes." So I started interning and volunteering more, and it's been 3 years now since I started working there, and it's been awesome and life-changing and super cool.
I'm sure.
Yeah. This piece was actually a class assignment. It was supposed to be like an internal landscape, and I took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Because it's a little more gruesome than what my classmates are doing. I was kind of like nervous too when we had to show them in class, and like me having to explain it, and I was just like, it just got too deep. But it was basically like, so this is supposed to be like, you know, my mom, and then me kind of like, I was at a time in my life where I felt like I was taking a lot of energy from her, you know, and this was just how I felt about that whole situation. But yeah, so that kind of explains it very briefly, but got me in the gallery, and again, another piece I'm not going to get rid of. Actually, it's for my mom, so I wouldn't give it away anyway. But yeah, so 1 second.
You can just fast forward through this if you want to. Cause there's no editing. Sorry about that.
Totally forgot I locked the door. Roommate can't come in.
No worries.
But yeah, so that's how I got into the gallery. I have actually, I can't think of really any other places that I've shown artwork.
How do people get a hold of you?
You can, I have a couple different accounts. So I have Instagram, which is just ArtJSM, my initials. And then
I'll have to get that from you.
yeah, and then I have Facebook, which is Facebook, that little slash thing, JSM Art Spot, which is then also my email, so it's just jsmartspot@hotmail. So there's that. And then I do have a DeviantArt account. Not really super active on it, but I definitely like the community part of it where you just get to talk to everybody. It's pretty cool.
Do you get a lot of requests for commissions?
Oh yeah, I do. I had to put a halt on the season the last couple months actually. It's funny, like you'll put up a picture or whatever of something you did, and then I don't want to sound like, irritated by it. I mean, it turns out to be really cool, but they'll see something that's like this, and then they ask me to draw like a character from something completely different, and not even like this style really, but just like, oh, you can draw. Well, can you draw this? And I'm just like, sure, why not? And
I'll try it,
yeah,
I guess.
Oh, you're a cook, you can farm, it's like that kind of a thing where it's like, can't really put it together and figure out how they were like, oh yeah, no, this person can do this too. And I'm just like, sure, why not? Again, with the challenge part of it, like, I love that. A lot of the commissions I actually do, though, are more like art trades. So, put something up on Instagram, and randomly I'll get a message where it's like, hey, you want to do an art trade? And I'm just like, hell yeah, like, totally. What do you want to, like, you see what they do, and then they see what you do. And then either they'll just give you, I usually do, like, 2 random doodles that are definitely, like, my style, and they'll be like, alright, now pick something, like, what's your favorite movie, or what's your favorite cartoon, or, like, do you like butterflies, or ponies, or what, just give me, like, one random thing to, like, totally get challenged by, so that's usually how they end up, and I've been introduced to some, like, really cool cartoons, or movies, and stuff like that, where otherwise it would just be like, oh yeah, here's 3 pictures of girls without hands, so that's cool. I do a lot of, like, I just did another Tony Clifton commission for a friend, actually a friend of a friend, but they saw that I gave somebody else a Tony Clifton piece, and then they're like, you need to give me one too, and I was like, okay, so, sometimes they're repetitive, that's happened a couple times, but again, it's a good challenge though to be like, alright, I can't just copy what I did last time, I gotta figure out how to do it in a completely different way. Maybe in a better way sometimes is what happens, but yeah, I do get commissions. Random, but a lot.
Where do you want to see yourself go? What's kind of your goal? Do you want to become a comic book artist, or?
In a way, I definitely want to do something that has to do with storytelling. I've been reading comics since I was way little. And actually, my first comics were from one of my dad's friends who worked at Dark Horse when we first moved up here. So my first comics were these weird little comics. One of them was called Gru, they just Gru the Barbarian or something like that. But you know what? Actually, I have them right here. They're like hundreds of years old, but I still have them. Let's see, where'd it go? Yeah, you look at what I was reading and looking at when I was little, and it's cool to see how it makes sense to, like, what you do now, you know? Because when I was in high school doing graphic design and doing layout for journalism, my teacher was always like, you're really crowded. Like, your designs or your layouts are super crowded. So these are my first comic books ever.
That's really rad.
Yeah, you know. But the thing is, you look at these though, like the double tracks, and you realize, like, why. You know, I do everything really crowded, or like kind of messy, or just like super randomly detailed. You know, like, there's so much going on in these that you can't even, you know, the first time you look through the comics, you can't even see it. So, it's, yeah. It's cool to realize that. But yeah, definitely, I want to be involved in storytelling, whether it's doing storyboards or writing or just general kind of like the illustrations of it. I definitely need to do something creative, like, obviously. And being creative to me doesn't necessarily mean, you know, being able to draw or being able to make paintings that sell for, you know, a lot of money or anything like that, but definitely just, like, the brainstorming and problem solving part of it, you know? So, I mean, I almost went to college right after I graduated. I thought a lot about, let's just show everyone my cat. This is Ace. And I definitely wanted to go to school for art, even though I was told by a few people. I'm not going to name any names, but a few people who told me, you know, it's not, you know, you should go into business or marketing, you know, and then do, you know, the classes on the side kind of a thing. And it totally makes sense, you know, as far as, like, the business side of the art world, but it doesn't make sense for somebody who's just, all they can do is, like, paint. Like, I physically feel sick if I don't do something creative, whether that's a drawing, a sketch, writing, anything. It's just, you know, if I don't do it for more than a couple days, I start going, like, you know, get all angsty. I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing something, but I can't figure it out. And then one day I figured it out. I'm like, oh, I just need to draw something, you know, like, super easy. But like, that's just how ingrained it is in me to make stuff, you know. So I do want to go to school though for art, but I've kind of figured it out to where I would want to study more of the literature side of it. So being a storyteller, obviously. I feel like I've had enough practice as far as, like, getting that confidence in being an artist towards it, but, you know, I used to write a lot for school too, but writing is another thing that I'm just like, yes, I gotta do that. You know, like, taking a story and just, like, going wherever you want with it, like, that's totally cool to me. So it's such an open door as far as being creative. So as far as a degree, definitely probably more on the literature side, and then of course art classes on the side. But to me, that's like getting away with, like, instead of business, it'll be literature, you know. So yeah, that's what I want to do. Just gotta save up that money. Gotta get the money.
Expensive.
It is, definitely. PCC is not too bad. I just, again, that's still money I don't have.
Yeah.
So
I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about was a gallery that I throw.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I mentioned that to you at all.
I have heard of it.
It's called 4th Effin' Friday. The next gallery will be on the 28th of August.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have anything going on, I'd love to have you come out and show some art.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that sounds awesome. The 28th?
The 4th Friday
The
of
4th
the month.
Friday of the month, yes. Probably.
There's
I got 5 jobs, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have to sort it out.
Yeah, I understand that. But there's a bunch of artists that come out. There's live music, free booze and food. We paint on the walls, and we do a raffle. It's not a requirement or anything, but I ask all of the artists that I interview if there's something small that they would donate. And then that's kind of how I get a little bit of money back towards like the booze and food and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
If a guest comes in and donates $5 or more towards the gallery and the video blog, they get a raffle ticket, and then at the end of the night we raffle off a ton of art from a bunch of artists. People,
cool.
Yeah, people get so excited about.
I think I've seen those pictures on Facebook too.
Yeah.
People with like little things with them. Yeah, that sounds cool. Definitely.
Super fun. Yeah, that'll be on the 28th. Hope to see you there.
Yeah,
But
totally.
no obligation. It's whatever.
Well, no promises on
Yeah,
this.
I can't expect a promise. But we'll keep in contact about that. And yeah, do you have any last comments, questions, concerns?
I guess just one thing to say about art in general. I was actually talking to one of my volunteers at People's Art about this when I was training him for his shift. We were just talking about, like, again, just that, like, confidence level in being an artist, you know? And if I have anything to say to anybody out there who's listening, it's definitely, like, obviously you're going to have people who don't like what you do, and there's going to be people who just love it. I personally have had so many encounters where it's, like, the one piece that I don't like and I'm not proud of is, like, somebody's favorite thing in the world.
Right.
You know? So, just one little thing to say to everybody is, to call yourself an artist, you just gotta do it. You don't have to impress anybody. The art community can be totally scary. Like, definitely totally scary. When I got out of high school, I was just like, oh my god, it's so big, and I'm so small, and I'm nobody. But it's really just, like, find that confidence to just do it and just keep on creating. Like, just ignore people. I mean, take advice.
Yeah.
I've got some great advice from other artists. But as far as that, like, it's every man for himself, it can be. But if you find the right people, it can also be, like, the most family kind of feeling as far as being in that community. So, just keep on creating, everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
I totally, like, get that. I'm from Nebraska, and coming here, like, wanting to be an artist and make a name for myself, it was like little fish coming into a really big pond.
Yeah.
And it's really intimidating with
It's scary.
the talent and the sheer number of artists in Portland. Like, it's,
yeah, you walk around Portland and you're like, oh, what do you do? I'm an artist. Oh, you're another one.
Yeah.
But again, it's just that, like, you know, this is what I do. I do it because I love it, not because I'm going to sell anything or because, you know, you said you liked it. I'm just going to make more of it because you said that. It's definitely, again, just that feeling of if I don't create or do something after a couple days, you know, it's just that physical and mental need to do something about art. So it's not that hard to be an artist. It seems really scary at first, and then you'll figure it out though, right? You know, like,
yeah.
You figured it out. You got good friends now.
I've got a ton of friends.
Yeah, see, you got a good support system now. It's all good. But yeah.
Sweet. Well, thank you for having me over. It's been a
definitely.
pleasure. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Art Life Video Blog, day 128. Jessie McGrath, Jacob Wolf.